What if the reason you feel lazy isn't because you lack discipline? What if the real problem is something far deeper, something most people never stop to question? For years, you may have told yourself the same story. I'm just not disciplined. You wake up with plans. You promise yourself that today will be different. Today you will focus. Today you will work. Today you will become the person you know you should be. But then something strange happens. The alarm rings. Your hand reaches for the phone. You scroll for a few minutes, just a few minutes. But those few minutes slowly become 30. 30 becomes an hour, and before you realize it, the day has already started without you. Again. And in that quiet moment, a familiar thought appears. Maybe I'm just lazy. It sounds simple. It feels true. And the more times it happens, the more you believe it. But what if that belief is the real problem? Because the truth is far more uncomfortable. Your brain is not broken. Your brain is not weak. Your brain is doing exactly what it was trained to do. Every scroll, every delay. Every time you choose comfort instead of effort, your brain learns something. It learns that comfort is safe. It learns that effort can wait. It learns that the easy path is the right path. And slowly, without you noticing, a pattern begins to form. A pattern that feels like laziness. But it is not laziness, it is training. The same way an athlete trains their body, the same way a musician trains their hands. Most people train their brains to avoid effort, not on purpose, but through thousands of small choices. One more video, one more scroll, one more delay, and over time, your brain begins to expect it. So when you finally decide to be disciplined, your brain resists, not because you are weak, but because you are asking it to break a pattern it has followed for years. And patterns are powerful. This is why discipline feels so hard. Not because you cannot do it, but because your mind has been quietly trained to choose comfort over growth. And unless that training changes, discipline will always feel like a battle most people lose. But here is the question almost no one asks. If the brain can be trained to avoid effort, can it also be trained to seek it? And if the answer is yes, then laziness may not be your problem at all. Programming is. You tell yourself that tomorrow will be different. You say it with confidence. You say it with hope. Tomorrow you will wake up early. Tomorrow you will start the workout. Tomorrow you will finally focus on the work that matters. And for a moment, it feels real. You can almost see the new version of yourself. You tell yourself that tomorrow will be different. You say it with confidence. You say it with hope. Tomorrow you will wake up early. Tomorrow you will start the workout. Tomorrow you will finally focus on the work that matters. And for a moment, it feels real. You can almost see the new version of yourself. The workout can wait. The plan can wait. You tell yourself you will start later. Later in the day. Later in the week. Later when you feel more ready. And strangely, this pattern feels familiar because it has happened before, many times. At first, the cycle always begins the same way. With motivation, a new idea, a new plan, a new version of life that feels possible. You watch a powerful video. You read something that inspires you. You feel a sudden wave of energy. In that moment, discipline seems easy. You imagine waking up early every day. You imagine working with focus. You imagine becoming the person you always wanted to be. But motivation is a strange thing. It arrives suddenly, and it disappears just as fast. A few days pass, sometimes a week. And slowly the energy fades. The alarm feels heavier. The work feels harder. The focus disappears, and then something else takes its place. Guilt. A quiet feeling that sits in the back of your mind. You remember the promise you made to yourself. You said you would wake up early. You said you would start exercising. You said you would stop wasting time. But weeks pass, and nothing changes. The goals remain the same, but the actions never follow. And eventually, a painful question begins to grow. Why can't I stay disciplined? But the answer may not be what you think. Because while you are trying to build discipline, something else is training your brain every day. Without you even noticing, think about how the day often begins. You pick up your phone just for a moment, just to check something quickly. A message, a post, a short video, but that single moment turns into another, and then another. You scroll, new image, new video, new story, each one small, each one quick, and each one gives your brain a tiny reward, a small burst of pleasure, not big enough to change your life, but strong enough to keep you scrolling. And the same thing happens again later. You feel bored. You open another app. You watch another show. You tell yourself it is just one episode, just one break. But your brain notices something very important. It learns that rewards can come quickly, without effort, without patience, without struggle. This is how the comfort loop begins. Fast reward, no effort, fast reward again, and again, and again. So when the moment comes to do something difficult, Something slow, something that requires focus and patience, your brain hesitates. Because the brain remembers the easier path, the quick reward, the instant pleasure. And suddenly the hard work feels heavy. The workout feels exhausting. The task feels impossible, not because you are weak, but because your brain has learned to expect something easier. And as you listen to this, something may feel strangely familiar. The late mornings, the delayed goals, the endless scrolling, the promise to start tomorrow. The quiet guilt that follows, and a realization slowly begins to form. Not a loud realization, but a quiet one, the kind that makes you stop for a moment and think, this is exactly my life. So if laziness is not the real problem, then what is? For years, most people have believed the same idea. That discipline is about willpower, that some people are simply stronger, more focused, more determined. The kind of people who wake up at 5 in the morning without struggle. The kind of people who work for hours without distraction. The kind of people who seem to move through life with control. And when we look at them, we often think the same thing. They are just more disciplined than me. But that belief hides a truth that very few people ever notice. Because discipline is not what most people think it is. It is not a personality trait. It is not something you are born with. And it is definitely not something that appears only when you feel motivated. In fact, the most disciplined people in the world do not rely on motivation at all. Because they understand something most people never learn. Motivation is unstable, it rises, it falls. It disappears without warning. If discipline depended on motivation, no one would be consistent, not even the most successful people. So the real question is not how to stay motivated. The real question is far more important. How do disciplined people keep going, even on the days they feel tired, even on the days they feel distracted, even on the days they would rather do nothing at all? The answer is not willpower. The answer is systems. Quiet systems, invisible systems, small structures built into everyday life. Systems that guide behavior even when the mind feels weak. Systems that remove the need to constantly make hard choices. Because every decision takes energy. Every act of self-control takes effort. And most people spend their entire day fighting their own environment. Their phone pulls their attention. Their habits pull them toward comfort. Their surroundings make distraction easy. So every action becomes a battle. But highly disciplined people do something different. They change the system around them. They shape their environment. They design their routines. They make the right action easier and the wrong action harder. And slowly, something powerful begins to happen. Discipline stops feeling like a fight, because the system begins to carry the weight. In this video, you are going to learn the psychological systems that highly disciplined people use. Not just on their best days, but on their worst days. On the mornings when motivation is gone. On the afternoons when focus disappears. On the nights when the easy path looks far more attractive. These are not secrets reserved for a small group of people. They are patterns, patterns of behavior, patterns of environment, patterns of thinking. And once you begin to see these patterns, something changes. Because discipline stops looking mysterious. It stops looking impossible. It starts looking like something that can be built, step by step, choice by choice, system by system. And once you understand this, discipline no longer feels like a constant struggle. It begins to feel like structure, and that structure can change everything. Imagine a company teetering on the edge of collapse. The kind of collapse that doesn't just threaten profits but erases legacies. In 1997, Apple was that company. Not the sleek, iconic Apple we know today, but a struggling giant haunted by missteps, swallowed by its own ambitions, and suffocating under a weight of indecision. The corridors once alive with invention now echoed with whispers of doubt. Every investor, every employee, every customer could feel it. Something was broken, something vital was missing. Then a man returned. Steve Jobs, not as a guest, not as an advisor. He returned with fire in his eyes and a vision that would terrify the faint-hearted. He walked into a company drowning in its own excess, where hundreds of projects vied for attention, where every direction seemed promising yet led nowhere. And he did the unthinkable. He cut 70% of those projects. 70%. He stripped the company bare. What remained was only a handful of products, each meticulously chosen, each destined to carry the entire company on its shoulders. This was not about doing more. It was not about adding effort or working harder or chasing every opportunity. It was about focus, the kind that burns, that cuts away everything that isn't essential until only the core remains. Discipline, most people think, is about pushing yourself endlessly, about squeezing more out of every day. But the truth, real discipline is often about restraint. It's about choosing with ruthless precision what deserves your attention and letting everything else fade into nothing. And here lies the lesson, whispered from the ruins of nearly a failed empire. Focus is a form of discipline. Extreme, intentional, unflinching focus. Jobs didn't save Apple by doing more. He saved it by daring to do less, by daring to say no when every instinct screamed yes. Every breakthrough product, every revolutionary idea that followed, sprang from this singular act of disciplined focus. Most people think discipline comes from willpower. They believe it's a spark, a sudden burst of energy that drives them to do what's hard, to push through when every instinct screams otherwise. But that belief is a trap. It's fragile, fleeting, and brutally unreliable. Motivation, after all, is emotional. It rises like a wave, sometimes powerful, often deceptive, and then it crashes, leaving nothing but the cold reality of your old habits. Disciplined people don't wait for a wave to carry them. They don't gamble on feelings that may never come. Instead, they build structures, systems, that guide their actions, that force the right behaviors to happen automatically, regardless of mood, fatigue, or fear. These systems are invisible engines running in the background of their lives, quietly shaping outcomes, quietly deciding success long before they even wake up. Consider the gym, the quintessential test of human will. Most people say, "I'll go to the gym when I feel motivated." They wait, they hope, they argue with themselves, and most of the time they fail, but a system is different. A system says, "I go to the gym every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6 p.m. There is no question, no negotiation, no emotional dependency. The system doesn't care if you feel like it. The system doesn't wait for inspiration. It runs. And when it runs consistently, discipline is born, not in moments of bravery, but in the quiet, repeated motion of action made automatic. Most people fail because they are waiting. Waiting to feel ready, waiting for the right time, waiting for the perfect motivation. But life is never perfect, and waiting is the enemy. Discipline grows not from emotion, it grows from repetition. It grows from small, deliberate actions, repeated again and again, until they are no longer choices but habits, until the friction of willpower is gone. Most people fail because they are waiting. Waiting to feel ready, waiting for the right time, waiting for the perfect motivation. But life is never perfect, and waiting is the enemy. Discipline grows not from emotion, it grows from repetition. It grows from small, deliberate actions, repeated again and again, until they are no longer choices but habits, until the friction of willpower is gone. And the truth, simple, almost cruel, is that anyone can build this. But most never will because it requires patience, planning, and the willingness to remove yourself from the drama of emotion. But here's the thing. There's a deeper reason most people fail to build discipline. Not the shallow, obvious reasons you hear every day. Not the cliches about laziness or lack of willpower or fleeting motivation. No, this runs much deeper. Far beneath the surface of daily habits, beneath the lists, the schedules, the gym visits, and the alarms, there lies a force so subtle, so powerful, that it dictates whether you will succeed or fail before you even start. And it has nothing to do with motivation. Motivation is a spark, brief, unreliable, a whisper that fades when the storm hits. You can try to chase it, to coax it into action, to force yourself into effort, but without addressing the root, it doesn't matter. Because real failure, the kind that keeps people stuck year after year, is written elsewhere. It has everything to do with identity, who you believe you are, the stories you tell yourself in the quiet, unseen moments, the unspoken assumptions that guide your choices before you even make them consciously. Every "I can't" and every "I'm not the type of person" is a silent architect shaping your life, constructing the boundaries of what's possible and what isn't. Most people never see it coming. They think discipline is external, something earned through struggle. But the truth is far more insidious, far more profound. Discipline isn't just behavior. It's a reflection of identity. And until that identity shifts, until you see yourself as someone who already embodies discipline, all the motivation in the world will falter. So the question lingers, what if the real barrier wasn't the lack of effort, but the story you've been telling yourself all along? What if every struggle, every failure, every abandoned plan was not about what you did, but about who you believed you were? Most people think discipline is something you acquire, like a skill you can add, like a muscle you can grow with repetition. But that's only half the story. The deeper truth, the hidden engine behind every action, is identity. Who you believe you are shapes every choice you make, whether you notice it or not. Your habits, your decisions, your successes, and your failures are all reflections of the story you tell yourself about yourself. Imagine for a moment a person who sees themselves as lazy. Not occasionally lazy, but fundamentally, unchangeably lazy. Every skipped workout, every postponed project, every unfinished goal suddenly becomes justified. It's fine, the mind whispers. This is who I am. And because the brain seeks consistency, it bends every thought and action to confirm that story. It's not lack of effort, it's allegiance to identity. Now imagine the opposite. A person who sees themselves as disciplined. Not perfect, not extraordinary, just disciplined. The same brain that once found excuses now scans for opportunities to act in alignment with that identity. Waking up early is no longer a battle. It is who you are. Completing small tasks, sticking to commitments, showing up even when it's hard, these aren't heroic feats. They are natural extensions of the person you believe yourself to be. This is the self-reinforcing loop that psychology calls the identity action cycle. Your actions reinforce identity, and your identity reinforces actions. It's subtle, invisible, yet unstoppable once you understand it. Each small choice, making your bed, finishing a task, saying no to distraction, becomes proof that your identity is real. The proof accumulates, it compounds, and slowly, almost imperceptibly, who you are transforms from someone trying to change into someone who already has. So how do you harness this? First, define your future identity. Don't focus on isolated goals. Focus on the type of person you want to be. Then, align tiny, repeatable actions with that identity. Track them. Witness them. Every completed action is a brick in the foundation of a new self. Over time, the invisible scaffolding of identity hardens into the structure of disciplined behavior. Because here's the quiet, almost dangerous truth. Discipline is never the starting point. Identity is. Start with who you are. Let your actions confirm it. And in the shadowy spaces between thought and habit, you'll discover a version of yourself that doesn't struggle to act. It simply does. Stop for a moment and think about this. The average person spends over 3 hours a day scrolling, tapping, refreshing. 3 hours, every single day. That's more than 1,000 hours every year. Hours swallowed by glowing screens, hours that vanish before they are even noticed. Hours that could have been spent creating, building, learning, transforming. 1,000 hours. Imagine what could be done with that time. You could master a new skill, start a business, completely reshape your health. You could learn a language, write a book, or change the trajectory of your life. And yet, for most people, it evaporates silently, replaced by endless feeds, mindless notifications, and the illusion of connection that leaves you feeling emptier than before. So here's the uncomfortable question, the one no one dares to ask. The real question isn't whether you have time. You do. Everyone does. The real question is, where is your time going? What are the unseen habits, the invisible pulls, the tiny daily choices that steal hours, energy, and focus from the life you claim to want? Because time, unlike motivation, doesn't return. It doesn't wait. It doesn't forgive. And the moment you realize where it's been going, you start to see the invisible patterns shaping your life. The patterns that either build discipline or destroy it, silently, day after day. Imagine walking into a room and not realizing it's already shaping every choice you will make today. The furniture, the objects, even the invisible flow of light and sound, they are all quietly, relentlessly nudging you towards certain behaviors. This is the hidden architecture of human action, environment. It is far more powerful than willpower, far more insidious than motivation. Because while you think you are choosing, your surroundings are choosing for you. Consider this. A plate of cookies left on the counter. You think, I'll resist. But your eyes wander, your hand moves, and before you know it, the choice is no longer yours. Or the phone on your bedside table glowing faintly in the dark. You say, just 5 minutes. Hours later, you realize that time has evaporated. Every distraction, every convenience, every tiny visual cue is a force shaping your behavior, silently, invisibly. Disciplined people do not leave this to chance. They understand the quiet tyranny of their surroundings, and they design them with precision. They remove what tempts. They place what guides. Gym clothes are laid out the night before. Books are left open and visible on the table. Phones are exiled from the bedroom. Every choice becomes easier because the environment itself now acts as the ally of their will. And here's the brutal truth that most people never face. You don't rise to your goals. You don't summon strength out of nowhere when you feel like it. You fall to the strength or weakness of your environment. Every habit, every decision, every moment of discipline is shaped by what you see, what you touch, what you feel around you. Master the environment, and suddenly discipline is no longer a struggle. It becomes the natural outcome of the spaces you inhabit. Because the battle for focus, for self-control, for the life you want, it's not fought in bursts of willpower. Because the battle for focus, for self-control, for the life you want, it's not fought in bursts of willpower. It's fought quietly in the arrangement of your room, the placement of your tools, the patterns you make invisible in your daily surroundings. And the moment you understand this, the moment you begin to design your environment instead of letting it control you, everything changes. Fast forward 5 years. Close your eyes and imagine it, not as a dream, not as a possibility, but as a reality staring back at you. Two versions of your life exist, occupying the same timeline, the same universe, yet separated by invisible lines drawn by choices so small you barely notice them at the time. One version is comfortable, safe, familiar. It's the life where you stayed within your routines, avoided the friction, ignored the voice that whispered, "Do more, be more." And then there's the other version, the one where you built discipline, where you endured the discomfort of repetition, the awkwardness of early mornings, the silence of delayed gratification, where you embraced systems, aligned your identity, designed your environment, and let small wins compound over time. That version of you is leaner, sharper, unstoppable, not because of luck, but because of tiny daily decisions that, when strung together, became the architecture of a completely different life. Now pause, look closely. What separates these two lives is almost invisible. Not grand gestures, not sudden breakthroughs, not heroic moments of willpower. It is the accumulation of tiny, seemingly insignificant choices. The choice to wake up when your body begs for sleep. The choice to focus when distractions scream louder. The choice to act when your emotions beg you to wait. Discipline is uncomfortable. It scratches. It irritates. It challenges the part of you that wants ease. But regret is far worse. It creeps silently into your future self's eyes, into your memories, into the quiet realization that time was spent not building the life you wanted, but surrendering to the life that was easiest to accept. So ask yourself, what habits are quietly shaping your future? What repeated behaviors are defining who you will be 5 years from now? And more importantly, what are you doing daily that your future self will look back on and regret? Because here's the unvarnished truth. The life you live 5 years from now is already being written. Every skipped workout, every unchecked distraction, every moment of avoidance, every tiny act of courage, they are ink on the page of your future. And the moment you realize it, the moment you see that invisible narrative unfolding, you can choose to intervene, to turn discomfort into structure, hesitation into habit, and tiny decisions into the foundation of a life that won't just be lived, but owned. Discipline is not about being perfect, not about bursts of effort or rare moments of heroism. It is far subtler than that, far more strategic. Discipline is built quietly, invisibly, through systems that shape your daily actions, through the deliberate reframing of your identity, through the careful design of your environment, and through the relentless accumulation of small, seemingly insignificant decisions. Every choice matters, every habit compounds, every repetition whispers to your future self, "This is who you are becoming." Think about the people you admire, the innovators, the artists, the entrepreneurs, the athletes. You might assume they are somehow more motivated, more gifted, more relentless than you. But that's an illusion. Motivation is fleeting. Talent is unreliable. The truth is far simpler and far more accessible. They have trained their lives to support discipline. They have built invisible scaffolding around themselves so that focus, consistency, and action are no longer battles. They are the default. And now the question is yours. Will you allow your environment to control you, your habits to define you, your identity to limit you? Or will you take the quiet, deliberate steps, the small, unglamorous actions that compound into a life defined not by chaos, distraction, or fleeting inspiration, but by relentless, unstoppable discipline? Because here is the final, undeniable truth. It is not magic. It is not luck. It is not heroic willpower. It is the systems you build, the identity you claim, the environment you command, and the tiny decisions you make consistently. Start today. The life you imagine is waiting, but only if you choose to shape it. If you want more than fleeting inspiration, if you are tired of watching others live lives you can only imagine, if you are ready to understand the hidden structures, the invisible habits, and the subtle forces that shape success, then this is where you begin. Subscribe not just to follow, but to start training your life. To start building the systems, crafting the identity, and designing the environment that will make discipline not a struggle, but a natural state of being. Because the version of your life most people only dream about, it is not reserved for the lucky, the motivated, or the extraordinary. It is reserved for the deliberate, for those willing to act quietly, persistently, with intention, one small choice at a time. Subscribe, begin, and step into the life that, until now, has only existed in imagination.